I was 23 when my mother remarried, bringing David into our lives. David was a kind-hearted man with a calming presence. His gentle smile and steady demeanor quickly made our house feel more like a home. My mother, a successful architect, often had to travel for work, leaving David and me to manage things on our own. Initially, the situation was a bit awkward. I was used to having my own space and my own routines, but David made an effort to make the transition smooth. He was always respectful of my boundaries, and his genuine interest in getting to know me helped ease the initial tension. He would often cook dinner, simple yet delicious meals, and we would sit at the dining table sharing stories about our day. David had a way of making even the most mundane stories seem interesting, and I found myself looking forward to our evening meals together. Over time, David became more than just my stepfather. He was someone I could talk to, someone who listened without judgment. He offered advice when I needed it, but he also knew when to simply be there, providing silent support. One evening, while my mother was away on a business trip, David suggested we have a special dinner. He wanted to try a new recipe he had found, something more elaborate than our usual fare. We spent the afternoon cooking together, the kitchen filled with laughter and the aroma of spices. The meal turned out beautifully, and as we sat down to eat, I felt a deep sense of contentment. After dinner, we moved to the living room to watch a movie. Wrapped in a blanket, we settled on the couch, the soft glow of the television casting a warm light across the room. As the movie played, I felt a growing sense of closeness to David, a bond that went beyond the usual stepfather-stepdaughter relationship. In the weeks that followed, this bond only grew stronger. We shared more about our lives, our hopes, and our dreams. David opened up about his past, his aspirations, and I found myself doing the same. It was comforting to have someone to confide in, someone who understood me in a way that few others did. One particularly rainy evening, I came home feeling overwhelmed by the pressures of work and life. David was there, a cup of hot cocoa waiting for me. He could see the stress etched on my face and immediately offered to listen. We sat on the couch, the sound of rain tapping against the windows, and I poured out my frustrations. David listened patiently, offering words of encouragement and understanding. His calm demeanor helped me feel more at ease, and I was grateful for his unwavering support. That night, something shifted between us. There was a newfound closeness, a deeper connection that neither of us could ignore. It was as if the barriers that had kept us at a comfortable distance had dissolved, leaving us more aware of the bond we shared. As we continued to spend time together, this connection only grew stronger. We found ourselves gravitating towards each other, seeking out moments to share and enjoy. The lines between family and friendship blurred, and I began to see David in a different light. One evening after a long day, we sat on the porch watching the sunset. The sky was painted with hues of orange and pink, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves around us. We talked about everything and nothing, our conversation flowing effortlessly. At one point, David reached out and gently took my hand. The touch was innocent, yet it sent a jolt of electricity through me. I looked at him, and in his eyes, I saw a reflection of the feelings I had been trying to ignore. It was a mix of care, concern, and something deeper, something neither of us had been willing to acknowledge until that moment. From that evening on, our relationship changed. We became more aware of each other, more attuned to the subtle shifts in our interactions. There was a tension, a charged energy that seemed to build with each passing day. We tried to keep things normal, to maintain the status quo, but it was becoming increasingly difficult. One night, while my mother was away on a weekend trip, David and I decided to watch a new series we had both been eager to see. As the episodes played, we found ourselves sitting closer, our shoulders touching. The atmosphere was thick with unspoken words and unacknowledged feelings. During a particularly emotional scene, I glanced at David and saw a tear roll down his cheek. Without thinking, I reached out and wiped it away. Our eyes met, and in that moment, everything changed. The barriers we had carefully constructed came crashing down. We both knew we had crossed a line, but neither of us could bring ourselves to stop. The days that followed were a whirlwind of emotions. We tried to talk about what had happened, but words seemed inadequate. There was a mix of guilt, confusion, and undeniable attraction that neither of us knew how to handle. We decided to take some time apart, hoping to gain clarity and perspective, but the distance only made our feelings more intense. We couldn't stay away from each other, and soon we found ourselves drawn back together, unable to resist the pull. My mother remained unaware of the growing tension between us, her busy schedule keeping her occupied, but I knew it was only a matter of time before she noticed. The secret we were keeping was becoming too heavy to bear, and I was torn between my loyalty to her and my feelings for David. One evening, as the sun set and the house was bathed in a soft golden light, David and I sat down to talk. We knew we couldn't keep going like this, that we had to make a decision. The conversation was long and difficult, filled with tears and heartache. We both knew what we had to do, but it didn't make it any easier. We agreed that David would move out for a while, giving us both space to process our emotions and figure out the next steps. The goodbye was painful, but necessary. As he left, I felt a profound sense of loss, but also a glimmer of hope. The following weeks were some of the hardest of my life. The house felt emptier without David, and I missed our conversations, our shared moments. But I knew that this time apart was essential for both of us. I threw myself into work, trying to distract myself from the aching void his absence had left. During this time, I also reconnected with friends, seeking their support and understanding. They helped me see things from different perspectives, offering advice and comfort. Slowly, I began to find my footing again. David and I kept in touch, our conversations tentative at first, but gradually growing more open and honest. We talked about our feelings, our regrets, and our hopes for the future. It was a painful process, but it was also healing. Through our conversations, we both realized that our bond was too strong to simply walk away from. We decided to seek counseling, both individually and together, to navigate the complex emotions we were experiencing. The therapy sessions were challenging, forcing us to confront our fears and vulnerabilities, but they also brought clarity and understanding. As we worked through our issues, we began to see a path forward. We knew it wouldn't be easy, that we would face judgment and difficult conversations, but we also knew that our relationship, whatever form it took, was worth fighting for. One afternoon, several months later, David and I sat on a park bench, the autumn leaves swirling around us. We had come a long way since that first night on the porch, and our connection had only deepened. We talked about the future, about the possibilities and challenges that lay ahead, and for the first time, we felt a sense of peace. We had faced our fears, our mistakes, and our doubts, and we had come out stronger on the other side. As we sat there, watching the world go by, I knew that no matter what happened, we would face it together. Our journey was far from over, but we were ready for whatever came next. Over the following months, David and I worked diligently to rebuild our lives. We focused on healing, individually and together, ensuring that our relationship was based on mutual respect and understanding. My mother eventually noticed the changes in our dynamic, and we decided to have an open and honest conversation with her. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, but I knew it was necessary. We sat down together one evening, and with David by my side, I explained everything to her. She listened in silence, her expression a mixture of shock, hurt, and confusion. When we finished, there was a long, heavy silence. Then, with a trembling voice, she asked us how we planned to move forward. We explained our decision to seek counselling and our commitment to being honest and transparent. My mother took some time to process everything. There were moments of anger, tears, and difficult conversations, but eventually she came to see that our intentions were genuine, that we were committed to making things right. Her acceptance and willingness to support us, despite the pain we had caused, was a testament to her strength and love. David and I continued our counselling sessions, and slowly but surely, our relationship began to take on a new form. It wasn't easy, and there were many moments of doubt and fear. But through it all, we remained committed to each other and to the process of healing. We learned to communicate openly, to respect each other's boundaries, and to build a foundation of trust and love. As time went on, our bond grew stronger, not despite our challenges, but because of them. We found a new sense of purpose and clarity in our relationship. We also worked to rebuild our family dynamic with my mother, creating new traditions and finding ways to support each other. One evening, as we all sat together around the dinner table, I felt a sense of peace and gratitude wash over me. We had come a long way, and while there were still challenges ahead, I knew we would face them together. David and I continued to grow as individuals and as a couple. We pursued our passions, supported each other's dreams, and created a life filled with love, laughter, and mutual respect. We also took time to reflect on the lessons we had learned, ensuring that we never took our relationship or our family for granted. As the years went by, our bond only deepened. We celebrated each other's successes, supported each other through hardships, and always found a way to come back to the love that had brought us together. Our journey was far from perfect, but it was ours, and it was beautiful in its own way. Looking back, I realized that the challenges we faced had only made us stronger. We had built a relationship based on honesty, trust, and unwavering support, and in the end, that was all that mattered. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sunset, I turned to David and smiled. "We've come a long way," I said softly. He nodded, his eyes filled with warmth and love. "Yes, we have," he replied, "and I wouldn't change a thing." As we sat there, hand in hand, I knew that no matter what the future held, we would face it together. Our journey had been filled with ups and downs, but it had brought us to a place of deep connection and understanding. And for that, I was eternally grateful. Our journey had brought us to a place of deep connection and understanding, and for that, I was eternally grateful. The years continued to pass, each one bringing new experiences and challenges, but also deepening our bond. David and I learned to navigate life's ups and downs with grace and resilience, always supporting each other and finding strength in our partnership. We created a home filled with love and laughter, where every corner echoed with the memories we made together. Our family dynamic with my mother evolved as well. She became more involved in our lives, joining us for dinners, holidays, and family gatherings. We worked hard to rebuild the trust that had been broken, and over time, our relationship grew stronger. My mother saw the love and commitment that David and I shared, and she came to accept and even support our relationship. Her acceptance was a significant step toward healing, allowing us to move forward without the weight of past mistakes hanging over us. David and I continued to pursue our passions and dreams. We travelled to places we had always wanted to see, exploring new cultures and creating unforgettable memories. Our shared adventures brought us even closer, reinforcing the bond we had forged through years of trials and triumphs. We also dedicated ourselves to personal growth, constantly striving to be better for each other and for ourselves. As we grew older, we faced new challenges, but our love remained the constant thread that held us together. We supported each other through health scares, career changes, and the inevitable ups and downs of life. Our resilience and commitment to each other never wavered, and we found joy in the simple moments, like a quiet evening at home or a walk in the park. One particularly memorable moment came when we decided to renew our vows. It was a small, intimate ceremony held in the garden of our home. Surrounded by close friends and family, we reaffirmed our love and commitment to each other. As we stood there, hand in hand, looking into each other's eyes, I felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude for the journey we had shared. The love and support from our loved ones made the day even more special, and it was a beautiful reminder of the strength of our relationship. As the years continued to pass, David and I embraced the joys and challenges of growing older together. We found new hobbies and interests, continued to travel, and cherished the time spent with our growing family. The lessons we had learned from our past mistakes served as a foundation for a life filled with love, understanding, and mutual respect. Looking back on our journey, I realized that every challenge we faced had been an opportunity for growth and connection. Our love had been tested and strengthened, and it had brought us to a place of deep fulfillment and happiness. We had created a life that was uniquely ours, filled with memories and experiences that we cherished. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching another beautiful sunset, I turned to David and smiled. "We've come so far, I said softly, feeling a wave of emotion wash over me. He nodded, his eyes reflecting the warmth and love that had been the cornerstone of our relationship. "Yes, we have," he replied, his voice filled with gratitude. "And I wouldn't trade a single moment." As we sat there hand in hand, I knew that our journey was far from over. There would be new challenges to face and new joys to celebrate. But no matter what the future held, I was confident that we would face it together, with the same love and commitment that had carried us through so many years. Our story was one of resilience, growth, and unwavering support, and it was a story that I was proud to be a part of.